The communication console beeped again, showing the same automated response Yunwoo had seen 17 times before. Your request for military assistance has been logged. Current queue position 2847. Estimated response time 96 standard hours. He slammed his fist on the desk. Through the window of the communications tower, he could see 3 more buildings burning in the Western District. The Vrask had arrived 6 hours ago, and Kalis Prime was already dying. Anything? Jiwon asked from behind him. The chief administrator looked like she had aged 10 years in a single day. Her formal robes were torn, covered in dust from when the first bombardment had collapsed the government building's east wing. Nothing real. Just automated messages. Hyunwoo switched frequencies again, broadcasting on every emergency channel he knew. This is Kalis Prime to any coalition forces. We are under attack. Civilian population of 12 million. We need immediate military intervention. Please respond. Static answered him. Outside, the scream of Vrask fighters tore through the sky. Hyunwoo watched as they strafed the residential sector, their plasma cannons turning homes into slag. He had lived on this peaceful world his entire life. They grew food here. They traded with neighboring systems. They had nothing worth taking, nothing worth destroying. But the Vrask Empire didn't care about logic. They cared about expansion. Try the Fourth Fleet again, Jiwon said quietly. They patrol the Outer Rim. They're supposed to protect worlds like ours. Hyunwoo had already tried them 5 times, but he nodded and opened the channel anyway. Fourth Fleet Command. This is Communication Officer Hyunwoo of Kalis Prime. We are experiencing a full-scale invasion by Vrask forces. Our defense grid is down. Our planetary shields are failing. We have millions of civilians with nowhere to go. We need help. Please. The response came faster this time. A bored-looking Quellan officer appeared on the screen, her blue skin darker in the dim lighting of her ship. Kalis Prime, your distress call has been noted. Unfortunately, Fourth Fleet is currently engaged in operations in the Helix sector. We cannot divert forces at this time. Recommend you contact Second Fleet. Second Fleet is 18 days away at maximum speed, Hyunwoo shouted. We'll all be dead or enslaved in 18 days. The officer's expression didn't change. I understand your frustration, but fleet movements require authorization from Coalition Command. Have you filed the proper requisition forms? Hyunwoo stared at her in disbelief. Forms? You want me to file forms while my people are being slaughtered? Protocol must be followed. I'm transmitting the necessary documents now. Once processed, your request will be evaluated. The screen went dark. Jiwon sank into a chair. They're not coming, are they? Before Hyunwoo could answer, Dae-hyun burst through the door. The veteran soldier's armor was scorched, his rifle nearly out of charge. We need to evacuate this building. Vrask ground forces are 3 blocks away. Our defensive line just broke. How many soldiers do we have left? Jiwon asked. Maybe 200 across the entire city. We started with 800 this morning. Dae-hyun's voice was hollow. They have battle mechs, Administrator. Machines 3 stories tall with enough firepower to level a building in seconds. We have rifles and hopes. It's not a fair fight. The Coalition, Jiwon started. The Coalition isn't coming, Dae-hyun said flatly. I've been a soldier for 20 years. I know when we've been abandoned. Hyunwoo looked at his console, at the dozens of unanswered messages, at the queue positions that never moved. Dae-hyun was right. They were alone. Then we fight anyway, Jiwon said, standing up. We evacuate who we can. We resist where we must. We survive. Over the next 3 months, survival became harder every day. The Vrask conquered the planet in 2 weeks. Their commander, a brutal creature named Thulvar, turned the cities into labor camps. Anyone who could work was enslaved. Anyone who resisted was executed. Anyone too young or too old was deemed useless and left to starve. Hyunwoo found himself in Camp 7, breaking rocks in a quarry 12 hours a day. His hands bled constantly. His back screamed with pain. But every night, he scratched marks on the wall of his cell. Days without rescue. Days without hope. Dae-hyun's resistance movement tried for 6 weeks before being crushed. The Vrask hunted them systematically, using orbital surveillance and drone patrols. The last Hyun-woo heard, Dae-hyun had escaped into the northern mountains with maybe 30 survivors. So-ra worked in the camp medical facility, such as it was. The Vrask provided minimal supplies, just enough to keep their slaves alive and working. She did what she could with bandages and ancient antibiotics. She watched people die from injuries that would have been simple to treat before the invasion. Ji-won had tried negotiating. She had offered the Vrask everything: resources, cooperation, loyalty. Thulvar had laughed at her. "You have nothing I cannot simply take," he had said. "Your only value is your labor. Be grateful I let you live." Hyun-woo still had access to a communications panel in the quarry control room. The Vrask didn't bother guarding it anymore. What was the point? No one was listening. No one cared. But every night after his shift, Hyun-woo would sit at that panel. His fingers, stiff and bleeding, would type out the same message. "This is Kalis Prime. We are enslaved. We are dying. If anyone can hear this, please help us. The Coalition has abandoned us. But maybe someone out there still cares." He sent it to every frequency, every known channel, every corner of the galaxy his weak transmitter could reach. No one ever answered. On day 93, Hyun-woo sat at the panel as usual. He was so tired. His body hurt everywhere. Around him, people were giving up. Some stopped eating. Some walked into the electric fences. Some just lay down and didn't get up. He typed his message one more time. His fingers hesitated over the send button. What was the point? The galaxy had made its decision. Kalis Prime didn't matter. But he pressed send anyway. Because giving up felt like dying, and he wasn't ready for that yet. The message disappeared into the void, just like all the others. Hyun-woo put his head in his hands and wept. The alarm in the Vrask Orbital Command Station started screaming at 0600 hours. Lieutenant Kreth, who had been half asleep monitoring the sensors, jerked upright in his chair. The screen showed impossible readings. "Commander Thulvar," Kreth said into his communicator, trying to keep his voice steady. "We have multiple contacts entering the system. Unknown origin." "How many?" Thulvar's voice was annoyed. He had been enjoying his morning meal. "Sensors show one large vessel. No, wait. Multiple vessels. They're hard to read. Some kind of stealth technology." Kreth's claws clicked nervously on the console. "They just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Identify them. Running through the database now. They don't match any known Coalition ship designs. Not Quellan, not Hevron, not even Raytheon." Kreth paused. "Sir, I've never seen ships like these. Are they military? Unknown, but they're moving fast, heading directly for us." Thulvar arrived at the command station 10 minutes later. He studied the sensor data with growing concern. The unknown fleet had split up, taking positions around the planet. Whatever they were, they knew what they were doing. "Send a warning broadcast," Thulvar ordered. "Tell them this world is under Vrask Empire control. Any approach will be considered an act of war." The message was sent. No response came. Instead, the sensors detected something new: launch signatures, hundreds of them. "What are those?" Thulvar demanded. "Looks like drop pods, small, fast." Kreth's voice rose in pitch. "Sir, there are over 1,000 of them. They're entering the atmosphere. Shoot them down, all of them." The Vrask defense systems opened fire. Plasma cannons lit up the sky. Anti-aircraft batteries unleashed everything they had. Some pods exploded in brilliant fireballs, but most of them moved with unnatural agility, dodging and weaving through the deadly barrage. In Camp 7, Hyunwoo heard the explosions first. He looked up from his work, squinting at the morning sky. Bright streaks of light cut through the clouds, followed by thunderous booms. "More bombing runs?" another prisoner asked tiredly. But these weren't bombs. Hyunwoo watched as one of the streaks changed direction mid-flight, avoiding a Vrask missile. "Those are ships," he whispered. "Small ships." The first pod hit the ground 2 kilometers from the camp, landing in the middle of a Vrask military installation. The impact sent up a cloud of dust and debris. Vrask soldiers ran toward it, weapons ready. The pod's sides exploded outward. What emerged moved faster than anything Hyunwoo had ever seen. A figure in dark armor, shorter than a Vrask but broader. It carried a weapon that looked primitive. No plasma glow, no energy signature. Just metal and mechanics. The weapon fired. Not the clean beam of a plasma rifle. A loud crack that echoed across the quarry. The first Vrask soldier's head snapped back, purple blood spraying. Another crack, another soldier down, 3 more, 5 more. The armored figure moved like water, smooth and unstoppable. It threw something small at a Vrask vehicle. The explosion flipped the vehicle end over end. More figures emerged from the pod, spreading out with military precision. "What are they?" someone asked. All across the planet, the same scene repeated. 1,000 pods, 1,000 soldiers. They landed on every major Vrask installation simultaneously. Command centers, weapon depots, troop barracks, vehicle yards. The Vrask had superior technology, energy shields, plasma weapons, advanced targeting systems. But these unknown soldiers fought differently. They used cover expertly. They moved in coordinated teams. They struck from unexpected angles. And their weapons, while primitive, were devastatingly effective. Captain Tae Yang led his battalion against the main Vrask command center. His armor's sensor package painted targets on his visor. 67 Vrask soldiers between his team and the objective. Behind him, 99 other soldiers waited for orders. "Teams Alpha and Bravo, suppressing fire on my mark. Team Charlie, flank left. Team Delta, prep the charges." His voice was calm, professional. "We go loud in 3, 2, 1, mark." The air filled with the distinctive crack of human rifles. Tae Yang had tried to explain to the mission planners that yes, chemically propelled projectiles were outdated by galactic standards, but they were also reliable, mass-produced, and could punch through most shields if you hit them fast enough. The Vrask returned fire with their plasma weapons. One of Tae Yang's soldiers went down, his shield taking most of the hit, but his leg badly burned. Immediately, 2 others dragged him to cover while a medic moved up. "Man down, still in the fight," the medic reported, proceeding with mission. That was the first thing the Vrask didn't understand. These soldiers never left their wounded, never retreated to regroup. They adapted, they pushed forward, they finished the objective. Team Charlie hit the Vrask from the side. The explosive charges detonated, collapsing part of the command center's wall. Tae Yang's team poured through the gap, moving room to room with practiced efficiency. Thulvar watched from his orbital station in growing horror. His ground forces were being torn apart. These unknown soldiers were outnumbered 50 to 1, but they fought like devils. Every defensive position he had spent months fortifying was falling. "Who are they?" he roared at Kreth. "Still no identification, sir. But I'm picking up their communications now, running it through the translator." Kreth's face went pale. "Sir, the language, it's not in our database. It's not any coalition language. That's impossible. We know every spacefaring species in the galaxy." "Apparently not, sir." At Camp 7, one of the pods landed just outside the fence. The Vrask guards ran toward it, but the prisoners knew better by now. They dropped to the ground, covering their heads. Sergeant Hae-won emerged from the pod already firing. Her team moved with deadly purpose, dropping every Vrask guard in seconds. She approached the fence where hundreds of prisoners watched in shock. Anyone here speak Coalition Standard? She called out in that language. Hyun-woo stood up slowly. I do. Hae-won pulled out a cutting tool and started slicing through the fence. Good. I need you to translate. Tell everyone to stay calm and follow instructions. We're getting you out of here. Who are you? Hyun-woo asked. Hae-won paused, looking at him through her helmet's visor. We're human. From a planet called Earth. We received your distress calls. But we sent those months ago. The Coalition said, we're not the Coalition. Hae-won's tone was matter of fact. We're just people who heard someone calling for help. Now come on, we have a lot of ground to cover. So-ra watched from the medical building as the human soldiers moved through the camp. They were efficient, professional, and surprisingly gentle with the prisoners. One of them, a medic named Jae-min, approached her. You're the camp doctor? He asked in surprisingly good Coalition standard. Yes, such as it is. Jae-min looked around at her minimal supplies and grimaced. We've got better equipment in our pods. I'll have it brought over. Can you show me who needs immediate treatment? Why are you helping us? So-ra asked. Your people aren't part of the Coalition. This isn't your war. Jae-min met her eyes. Someone asked for help. That's all the reason we need. By nightfall, the Vrask controlled less than half the planet. Their forces were in disarray, retreating to fortified positions. Thulvar finally received a response to his demands for information about these unknown attackers. It came from one of the human ships in orbit, broadcast on all frequencies. This is Commander Yoon Seo of the Earth Alliance Rapid Response Fleet, to the Vrask forces on Kalis Prime. You have 24 hours to withdraw from this world. Any forces remaining after that deadline will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. To the people of Kalis Prime, help has arrived. Hold on a little longer. Hyun-woo heard that message while sitting in the liberated camp, a blanket around his shoulders and real food in his hands for the first time in months. He started crying and couldn't stop. Someone had heard. Someone had come. They weren't alone anymore. Ji-won stood in what used to be her office, staring at the human commander across from her. Yoon Seo had arrived at dawn with 3 other officers, setting up a temporary command post in the ruined government building. Around them, human soldiers worked alongside freed prisoners, clearing rubble and establishing defensive positions. I don't understand, Ji-won said for the 3rd time. How did you even know about us? Earth isn't in any Coalition records. We've never heard of your species. Yoon Seo pulled up a holographic display. It showed Hyun-woo's desperate messages, hundreds of them, spreading across space. We picked up your distress calls 4 months ago. Our deep space monitoring stations catch all sorts of signals. Most are just cosmic noise, but yours was clearly a call for help. 4 months ago? Ji-won's voice rose. The Coalition got our messages in hours. They chose not to help. You got them in months and came anyway? The distance from Earth to your world is 412 light-years, Yoon Seo explained. Even with our fastest ships, it took us this long to get here. We left the day we received your first message. Ji-won sat down hard. You traveled for 4 months? For strangers? Someone asked for help. Yoon Seo said it simply, as if it explained everything. Perhaps it did. But you only brought 1,000 soldiers. The Vrask have 50,000 troops on this planet, plus orbital support. Yoon Seo smiled slightly. Administrator, humans learned a long time ago that numbers aren't everything. Let me show you what we do best. In the northern mountains, Dae-hyun and his 30 surviving resistance fighters had been living like animals for months. They raided supply convoys when they could, but mostly they just hid and tried to survive. When the human drop pods started falling, Dae-hyun thought the Vrask were deploying new weapons. Then Sergeant Hae-won walked into his camp. You're the resistance leader? She asked, scanning the ragged group of fighters with a professional eye. What's left of it, Dae-hyun admitted. Who are you? Humans from Earth. We're here to help you take your planet back. Hae-won gestured to her squad. We've got weapons, supplies, and training. Interested? Dae-hyun looked at his people. They were exhausted, starving, and nearly out of hope. What do you need us to do? Same thing you've been doing. Hit them where it hurts, but now you'll have support. Hae-won opened a crate. Inside were rifles, grenades, and ammunition. These are kinetic weapons, simple, reliable, and effective. Let me show you how to use them. Over the next week, Dae-hyun learned more about warfare than he had in 20 years of military service. The humans taught him about ambush tactics, supply line disruption, and psychological warfare. They showed him how to move silently, strike fast, and disappear before the enemy could respond. Your people fight like you're trying not to die, Hae-won explained one night. That's defensive thinking. Humans fight like we're trying to make the other guy die. That's offensive thinking. Big difference. The Vrask have better weapons, Dae-hyun pointed out. So, we've fought enemies with better weapons before. Technology doesn't win wars. Will does. Adaptability does. Refusal to quit does. Hae-won checked her rifle. The Vrask think they're apex predators. Time to show them what real predators look like. In the liberated camps, Private Bo-ra worked with Hyunwoo to restore the planetary communication network. The Vrask had destroyed most of the infrastructure, but Bo-ra had brought portable transmitters and relay stations. This equipment is ancient by our standards, Bo-ra admitted, but it's reliable. We learned a long time ago that the fanciest technology is useless if it breaks down when you need it most. Hyunwoo watched her work with admiration. Everything about you humans is like that. Your weapons, your equipment, your tactics. It all seems simple, but it works so well. Complicated things break, simple things last. Bo-ra connected another cable. Okay, try the broadcast now. Hyunwoo activated the system. For the first time in months, his voice reached across the entire planet. People of Kalis Prime, this is Communication Officer Hyunwoo. I know many of you have lost hope. I did too. But help has arrived. Humans from a world called Earth heard our calls and came. They're fighting for us right now. They're liberating our camps and defeating the Vrask. Hold on. Freedom is coming. The message spread across every remaining settlement. In labor camps, prisoners wept with relief. In hiding spots, survivors emerged cautiously. In the Vrask command centers, soldiers grew nervous. Thulvar watched his territory shrink day by day. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. They hit supply depots, destroyed communication towers, and ambushed patrols. Every time his forces cornered them, the humans disappeared like smoke. How are they doing this? He demanded. They have no shields, no energy weapons, no advanced sensors. They should be easy to defeat. Kreth pulled up tactical data. Sir, they don't fight like coalition species. They use terrain expertly. They coordinate across vast distances without detectable communications, and they never, ever give up. We wounded 3 of them in yesterday's engagement. Instead of retreating, the rest of their squad fought harder. That's insane. That's humans, apparently. The turning point came in the 3rd week. The Vrask had fortified the city of Redstone Harbor, turning it into their main stronghold. 50,000 soldiers, heavy weapons, and shield generators protected by thick walls. Captain Tae-yang studied the defenses with his command team. Frontal assault would cost us too many lives. We need to be smart about this. Smart how? Lieutenant Jae-min asked. Those walls are solid metal, 30 feet high. Walls are only as strong as the people defending them. Tae-yang pointed to the shield generator facility. Dae-hyun's resistance team will hit their power station here. When the shields drop, we send in drones with speakers. Psychological warfare. Then we hit them from 3 sides simultaneously while their attention is divided. "We're outnumbered 50-1 in that city," one of the officers pointed out. "Numbers don't matter when the enemy is confused and afraid." Tae Yang looked around the table. "Humans didn't become apex predators on Earth because we were the strongest or fastest. We became apex predators because we're the smartest and most relentless. Time to remind the galaxy of that." The attack came at midnight. Dae-hyun's team, now 50 strong with new recruits, struck the power station with precision. The shields flickered and died. Immediately, human drones flooded into the city, broadcasting recordings of human battle cries, weapons fire, and explosions from all directions. The Vrask, who relied heavily on their sensors and coordinated communications, found themselves in chaos. The humans seemed to be everywhere. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Every sound could be an attack. Then the real assault began. Tae Yang's forces hit from the north, east, and south simultaneously. They moved through the city like water, flowing around strong points and overwhelming weak ones. When the Vrask set up defensive positions, the humans simply went around them, striking at supplies and communications instead. So-ra watched from the medical station as wounded were brought in. She worked alongside Jae-min, who taught her techniques she had never imagined. "You can do this without advanced equipment?" she asked, watching him stabilize a patient with basic tools. "We had to learn," Jae-min explained. "Earth didn't have energy shields or healing beams. We had to get good at fixing people with whatever we had. Made us better doctors in the long run." By dawn, the Vrask controlled only the city center. By noon, they were surrounded. By sunset, Thulvar stood in his command center, watching his forces collapse. "Send a message to the Empire," he told Kreth. "Tell them we need immediate reinforcements. These humans, they're not like anything we've faced before." Kreth's voice was quiet. "I don't think reinforcements will help, sir. They don't fight with strength. They fight with intelligence. And they don't stop." Outside, Tae Yang's voice boomed through speakers. "Vrask forces, you have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we're coming in, and we won't stop until every one of you is captured or dead. Your choice." 55 minutes later, the Vrask began laying down their weapons. Ji-won stood with Yoon Seo, watching the surrender. "You did it. 1,000 soldiers defeated 50,000. "Numbers never mattered," Yoon Seo replied. "What mattered was that we came when no one else would, and we didn't stop until the job was done. That's what humans do best." The alarm woke everyone at 0300 hours. Hyun-woo rushed to the communications center, where Bo-ra was already at her station, her face pale in the glow of the monitors. "What is it?" he asked. "Vrask fleet. 12 warships just entered the system." Bo-ra pulled up the tactical display. "They're big ones, too. Battle cruisers. They must have sent them before the surrender. Can we stop them?" Bo-ra didn't answer immediately. "The human ships are good, but they're smaller. Designed for stealth and speed, not direct combat with capital ships." Commander Yoon Seo arrived minutes later with Captain Ta Yang. They studied the incoming fleet with professional calm. "Options?" Yoon Seo asked her tactical officer. "Limited. We have 4 stealth frigates and 6 support vessels. The Vrask have 12 battlecruisers with full armament." The officer paused. "Recommend immediate evacuation of ground forces." "Not happening," Tae Yang said flatly. "We didn't come this far to abandon these people." Yoon Seo nodded. "Agreed. New plan. We engage them in close quarters. Their big guns are designed for long-range combat. We get in close. They can't use their main weapons without risking hits on their own ships." "That's suicide, Commander." "Maybe, but it's better than leaving." Yoon Seo looked at Tae Yang. "Can your people hold the surface?" "As long as we need to." On the planet, preparations began immediately. The human soldiers fortified every position. Dae-hyun's resistance fighters, now trained and equipped, took up defensive positions alongside them. So-ra organized medical stations, knowing casualties were coming. In orbit, Specialist Minji worked frantically at her console. She was an intelligence officer specializing in electronic warfare. Commander, I'm in their communication network. They're using standard Vrask military encryption. I can feed them false data. Do it, Yoon Seo ordered. Confuse them, divide them, make them think we have more ships than we do. The Vrask fleet entered weapons range at 0700 hours. Admiral Vex Tar, commanding from the lead battlecruiser, studied his sensors with satisfaction. 10 small vessels. This will be quick. All ships. Open fire. The space around Kalis Prime lit up with weapons fire. But the human ships didn't try to run. Instead, they accelerated directly at the Vrask fleet, weaving through the barrage with impossible agility. "What are they doing?" Vex Tar demanded. "Sir, they're closing to knife-fighting range. At this distance, our main guns—" "I know what it means," Vex Tar snarled. "All ships break formation, engage at will." But the formation was already breaking. Minji's false data had 3 Vrask ships convinced there were enemy vessels behind them. 2 more peeled off to chase sensor ghosts. The coordinated Vrask fleet became 12 individual ships, each fighting its own battle. The human ships danced between the giants, too close for the big weapons, too fast for the smaller ones. They targeted specific systems, engines, sensors, communications. One human frigate took a glancing hit and spiraled away, trailing atmosphere. But it kept firing even as it fell. On the ground, the Vrask had landed troops at 5 locations. Tai Yang coordinated the defense from his command post, watching the tactical display as enemy soldiers poured out of landing craft. "All teams, remember your training. Let them come to us. Use the terrain. Make every shot count." He switched channels. "Daehyun, status?" "Enemy forces landing 2 kilometers from my position. We're ready." Daehyun checked his rifle one more time. Around him, his people waited with calm determination. They had been helpless victims once. Not anymore. The first Vrask assault hit human positions at 0730. The enemy came in their usual style: overwhelming force, direct approach, maximum firepower. They had superior numbers and superior technology. It didn't matter. The humans had turned the approach routes into kill zones. Hidden explosives detonated under Vrask vehicles. Sniper fire from concealed positions dropped officers and heavy weapons specialists. When the Vrask tried to flank, they found the paths already mined and trapped. Corporal Jin Ho, the young demolitions expert, led his squad in a desperate action. A Vrask battle mech was advancing on a civilian shelter, its weapons primed to fire. Jin Ho grabbed every explosive charge he had. "Cover me," he told his squad. "Jin Ho, don't," his sergeant started. But Jin Ho was already running. He sprinted across open ground as plasma fire scorched the earth around him. He dove under the mech's legs, attaching charges to its joints and power core. The mech's pilot spotted him and tried to swivel its weapons down. Jin Ho pressed the detonator. The explosion consumed both the mech and Jin Ho, but the civilian shelter survived. "Man down," someone reported quietly over the radio. "Jin Ho is gone." Tai Yang closed his eyes for a moment. "Mark his position. We'll recover him when this is over." He switched channels. "All teams, Jin Ho just saved 200 civilians. Don't let it be for nothing. Hold your positions." And they did. Every human soldier knew the price of this fight. They knew some of them wouldn't go home, but not one of them suggested retreating. In orbit, the space battle raged on. 2 Vrask battlecruisers were disabled, their engines destroyed by concentrated human fire. But one human frigate was completely destroyed, another barely functional. The remaining human ships were taking damage faster than their systems could repair. "Commander, we can't sustain this much longer," the tactical officer reported. Yoon Seo watched a Vrask battlecruiser line up for a killing shot on one of her frigates. "Major Kyung-soo, are your orbital strike systems online?" "Yes, Commander, but using them will reveal our position." "Do it anyway. Target that battlecruiser's bridge. Kyung-soo's ship decloaked and fired. The kinetic penetrator, a simple tungsten rod accelerated to tremendous speed, punched through the battlecruiser's shields and armor like paper. The ship's command center ceased to exist. The other Vrask ships immediately turned on Kyung-soo's position. His ship took hits from 3 directions. Shields collapsing, hull breaching. This is Kyung-soo, taking critical damage, but I'm taking one of them with me. His ship, dying, rammed directly into another Vrask battlecruiser. Both vessels exploded in a brilliant fireball. On the ground, Tae-yang watched the explosion through his visor's magnification. Kyung-soo was a good man, a good officer. We will remember him. The battle lasted 6 more hours. By the end, 8 Vrask battlecruisers were destroyed or disabled. 4 had retreated. Of the human fleet, 3 ships remained functional, all heavily damaged. 127 human soldiers had died in the fighting. Admiral Vex Tar, now commanding from a half-functional ship, broadcast a final message. You fought well, humans. Better than I expected, but you cannot win. We will send more fleets. We will crush you. Yunseo's reply was broadcast across every channel, where it would be recorded and spread throughout the galaxy. Then we will crush them too. We came here because someone asked for help. We will not leave until this world is safe. Send your fleets, we're not going anywhere. The Vrask retreated. That night, Ji-won stood with Tae-yang at the memorial service. 127 markers, 1 for each fallen human soldier. The names were read aloud in the gathering darkness. They died for people they never knew, Ji-won said quietly. For a world they had never seen. They died doing what was right, Tae-yang replied. That's all any soldier can ask for. How do we repay this? How do we honor such sacrifice? Tae-yang looked at her. By building something worth their sacrifice. By becoming the kind of people who would do the same for others. By never forgetting that freedom has a price, and they paid it. Hyunwoo stood among the markers, reading the names. These humans had heard his desperate calls across 400 light-years of empty space. They had come. They had fought. They had died. For him, for his people, for strangers. He knelt and placed a flower at the first marker, then the second, then the third. By the time he finished, dawn was breaking, and Kalis Prime was free. 6 months after liberation, Kalis Prime looked different. The ruins were being rebuilt, but not as they were before. Humans had brought engineers, architects, and teachers. They shared their knowledge freely, asking nothing in return. Hyunwoo walked through the new communications center, vastly improved from the old one. He sat at his station and checked the incoming messages. What he saw made him stop breathing. 12 new distress calls, from 12 different worlds, all ignored by the coalition, all begging for help. You see them too? Bo-Ra asked. She had stayed behind with a team of humans to help rebuild the infrastructure. 12 worlds calling for help, just like we did. Hyunwoo's hands shook slightly. And the coalition is doing nothing. The coalition is a bureaucracy, Bo-Ra said quietly. Bureaucracies are good at maintaining order, bad at taking risks. These worlds are too small, too remote, too insignificant. Like we were. Exactly like you were. Bo-Ra pulled up a star map. But Earth is listening now. Every distress call that gets ignored by the coalition gets picked up by our deep space monitors. And we're building more ships, faster ships, with more soldiers. At the Coalition Council chambers, Ambassador Sung Hee stood before the assembled representatives of 87 species. She was the first human to ever address this body, and the chamber was packed. The Quellan Council leader spoke first. Ambassador, the Coalition has noted Earth's intervention in the Kalis Prime situation. We must express our concern about non-coalition military action within coalition space. Noted, Sung Hee replied calmly. Do you have any other concerns? You violated established protocols. You acted without authorization. You deployed military forces to a world under sovereign claim by another species. The Vrask Empire invaded a peaceful world and enslaved its population. That's not a sovereign claim. That's an atrocity. Nevertheless, there are proper channels for addressing such situations. We tried the proper channels. Hyunwoo's voice came through the chamber speakers. He was testifying remotely from Kalis Prime. I sent 247 distress calls through proper channels. The coalition logged them, filed them, and did nothing while my people died. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species supported the coalition's measured approach. Others, particularly the smaller worlds, were quieter but clearly sympathetic. Sung-hee waited for silence. Let me be clear about Earth's position. We don't seek territory. We don't seek tribute. We don't seek to replace the coalition. But we will not stand by while people die because helping them isn't convenient or profitable. If someone calls for help, we will answer. You cannot police the entire galaxy, a Hevron representative objected. Watch us, Sung-hee replied. The council leader's tone became threatening. The coalition will impose sanctions, trade restrictions, travel bans. Then impose them. Sung-hee pulled up a display. But you should know that 17 coalition worlds have already contacted Earth directly, requesting mutual defense treaties. 23 more are considering it. All of them are small worlds that the coalition considers expendable. The chamber fell silent. Your move, council leader, Sung-hee said. Admiral Young-jae stood aboard the newly commissioned rapid response carrier. Around him, 50 identical ships were under construction in Earth's orbital yards. Each could carry 1,000 soldiers anywhere in the galaxy within months. It's not enough, he told his staff. There are hundreds of worlds that need help, maybe thousands. Sir, we're building as fast as we can, his chief engineer replied. These ships are the most advanced in our fleet. We're training new battalions every month, but we can't be everywhere at once. Then we need to be smart about it. Young-jae pulled up a galaxy map showing all known distress calls. We prioritize based on urgency and our ability to make a difference. And we start training local forces so they can defend themselves. On Kalis Prime, Dae-hyun had become the commandant of the new Planetary Defense Academy. Human instructors worked alongside him, teaching tactics, strategy, and the philosophy that had made Earth's military so effective. Defense is more than weapons, he told his students, echoing what Hae-won had taught him. It's mindset, it's training, it's the refusal to give up. The humans showed us that technology doesn't win wars, will does. So Ra returned from her year of study at human medical facilities. She brought back knowledge that would have taken coalition medicine decades to develop. More importantly, she brought back the human approach. Do more with less, never give up on a patient, train everyone to save lives. They lost people, she told Ji-won one evening. In the battle for our world, they lost 127 soldiers. Every human I talked to could name them all, every single one. That's the kind of people they are. Ji-won stood before the memorial that now dominated the city center, 1,000 statues representing the 1,000 soldiers who had descended from the sky. At the base, an inscription in both languages, La ayuda nunca llegó hasta que lo hizo. Help never came, until it did. The memorial had become a pilgrimage site. People from across the sector came to see it, to understand what had happened here, to learn about the humans who had traveled 400 light years for strangers. The Vrask Empire had declared humanity an enemy species, but their military advisors recommended avoiding conflict. They fight unlike anyone we've faced, the report said. They don't care about losses. They don't care about odds. They care only about objectives. Recommend avoiding engagement unless absolutely necessary. For a species that prided itself on being warriors, it was a humiliating admission. Hyunwoo received a transmission one evening. It was from a world called Talmor, 15 light-years away. This is Talmor Prime. We are under attack by raiders. The Coalition says they will evaluate our request for assistance. We know they won't come, but we heard about Kalis Prime. We heard about the humans. If you're listening, please help us. He forwarded it to Earth immediately. The response came within hours. This is Captain Tae Yang. We received the distress call from Talmor Prime. 3 response ships are already en route. Estimated arrival in 42 days. Hold on, we're coming. 42 days. A lifetime when you're being attacked. But so much shorter than the months Kalis Prime had waited. You did this, Bo-Ra told Hyun-Woo. You kept sending those messages even when no one answered. You gave us the chance to help. I was just trying to survive. You were being human. Even if you didn't know it. Never giving up. Always hoping. Always believing someone might care. Bo-Ra smiled. That's what we recognized in your messages. That's why we came. A year after liberation, the Coalition Council called an emergency session. 41 worlds had left the Coalition to form mutual defense pacts with Earth. Dozens more were considering it. The political structure that had maintained galactic order for centuries was fracturing. This is your fault, the council leader accused Sung-Hee. You've destabilized everything. No, Sung-Hee replied calmly. You destabilized everything by forgetting that governments exist to serve people, not the other way around. Earth didn't force anyone to leave. We simply offered what the Coalition wouldn't. Protection, support, and the promise that will come when called. The Coalition maintains order. The Coalition maintains the status quo. That's not the same thing. Sung-Hee stood. But here's what I propose. Reform your charter. Make it faster, more responsive. Actually help the worlds that ask for it. Earth will gladly work with a coalition that lives up to its ideals. The council erupted in debate. But over the following months, reforms began. Slowly, reluctantly, the coalition started changing. Not because they wanted to, but because the alternative was irrelevance. 50 years later, an old man sat in the communications center of Kalis Prime. Hyun-Woo was retired now, but he still came here every day, still monitored the channels, still made sure every call for help was answered. The galaxy had changed. The coalition was more responsive, more willing to help. Earth had shown them a different way, and gradually others had followed. But it was Earth that people remembered, Earth that answered first, Earth that never asked what was in it for them. Young students came to interview Hyun-Woo about those days. They asked what it was like when the pods descended, what it was like to be saved by strangers. They weren't strangers, he always told them. Not really. Anyone who answers when you call for help, anyone who fights for you, anyone who dies for you, they're not strangers. They're family. Outside, the memorials stood eternal. 1,000 statues under the alien sky of a world that was no longer forgotten. At night, lights illuminated the inscription, La ayuda nunca llegó, hasta que lo hizo. And somewhere in the galaxy, another distress call reached across the void. On a world called Earth, people listened, ships were prepared, soldiers volunteered. Because that's what humans do. Someone calls for help, and they answer, every single time. The memorial's lights glowed against the darkness, a promise carved in stone. You are not alone. You will never be alone again. We heard you. We came. We will always come. And across the galaxy, on 100 worlds, 1,000 worlds, people looked to the stars and knew it was true. Help would come. It always did.